Good evening. If I could have everyone come to attention, please. We're going to get started. Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone to Dalton State College. We are delighted to be here, and I will now call the joint meeting of the Senate Reapportionment and Redistricting Committee and the House Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment Committees for our town hall meeting here in Dalton. We're going to begin, as we always do, in the Senate and the House for committee meetings and opening in prayer. You happen to be seated, if you will, or we're all enjoying the presence of the 54th State Senate District, and you are luckily represented by a fine senator, Mr. Chuck Payne. Senator Payne, I've asked you to please open us in a word of prayer.
It'd be my honor, Mr. Chairman. Can we all pray? Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, and we just thank you for this open process. Father, we thank you to live in a country where we're not governed, but we govern ourselves. Father, we just thank you for the liberty and the freedom that you have bestowed upon this nation and our people. Father, we just ask you that you bless these proceedings and bless each one in this room, that we leave this room revived and renewed for the future, for the days and the years ahead. Lord, we just ask your blessings on all things, and it's all things we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Senator Payne, for that. Well, good afternoon. I'm delighted to be with you. My name is John Kennedy, and I serve in the Georgia Senate. I serve in the 18th District, which is Macon and 6 counties in Middle Georgia. I have the pleasure and honor of serving as the chair of the Senate Redistricting Committee, which is why I'm here with you tonight. But you've also got lots of other legislators, those that are on the stage with us, and these are the public servants. These are your elected state senators and your state representatives from around the state of Georgia that have driven from all corners to be here because they want to hear from you. I would be remiss of me if I also didn't mention my majority leader, Leader Dugan. Leader Mike Dugan is with us. Can't even get my own leader's name right, excuse me. Yeah, they know it. Yeah, I'm out of here. This will be the last time I have this job. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Leader, for being with us, and I thank everyone else on the podium. You're going to hear from just a minute from my co-chair, Chairman Rich from the House, and she's going to make some comments. But we want to make sure that we're hearing from the public, and that's why we're here. So in addition to the elected officials, we're going to go through some processes and explain what we're going to do here this evening. First, this is the 4th hearing out of 11 public hearings that we are holding, these joint hearings, and we're holding them across the state about redistricting. We've had so much interest in this hearing that we're going to allow a little extra time. Based on the number of sign-ups that we have, people that have signed up, we're going to allow 4 minutes to each speaker. In Atlanta, we had 2 minutes earlier this week, and so we're trying to adjust this. It doesn't mean you have to take 4 minutes. You get bonus points if you don't take the full 4 minutes. But we do want to hear from you, but we want to give ample time to everyone else that has taken the time to sign up. We have a number of more hearings coming, and if you'll allow me by way of a public service announcement in case the press is here, because we want to get the word out. So our next meeting, our joint meeting with Chairman Rich and I, will be July the 6th in Athens, July the 7th in Augusta, July the 26th in Brunswick, July 27th, we will be in Albany. July 28th, we'll be in Columbus. July 29th, we'll be in Macon, where I live. And our final meeting will be July the 30th, and that will be a virtual town hall meeting, as we started similarly with a virtual, and that's to allow folks that maybe can't get out and about or otherwise missed the meeting when it was closest to their home to come and speak to us virtually. At each of these hearings, we're going to hear from people from different parts of the state. We're also going to be collecting written comments about the parts that folks want us to hear about, in addition to the public comment that we're going to receive tonight. We have a dedicated link for that, which you can find on the main page of the Georgia House and the Georgia Senate websites for each respective redistricting committee. Our goal is simply to ensure that every comment we get goes into the central location so that we can utilize this to draw upon in the future when we get to the point of making the maps and making decisions. Third, we're going to be going back and making some changes to the process to ensure that we collect every piece of useful information about the process. Members of the General Assembly received guidance from outside counsel about the importance of preserving records, and we're going to follow that as best we can. We've been making some adjustments to our email and voicemail systems to ensure that however you transmit information to us as committee chairs and our committees and us as legislators, that we preserve that as we go forward. And with that, I'm going to pass the microphone to my co-chair, Chairman Bonnie Rich.
Hello, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I am Bonnie Rich, and I represent District 97, which includes parts of Duluth, Sugar Hill, and Suwanee, Georgia, which is Gwinnett County. I am happy to be here with you today, and I have found your Dalton people to be so welcoming, so thank you, and thank you all for coming out and taking the time to be here. I also want to let you know that in addition to the committee members that we have here who have traveled as far as the southernmost point of the state, we also have committee members who were not able to make it out here but who are attending virtually. They are watching the live stream right now and are hearing what you have to say. In addition, we are recording this, so people will have the opportunity to go back and listen. Everyone is asking when the special session will be, and unfortunately we don't know yet, other than to say it will be sometime later in the fall. We are completely dependent upon the Census Bureau at this point, and they have indicated that they will have the data to us sometime at the end of September. So we will be working furiously with the data once we get it. That's a very short amount of time to draw the maps, and we just can't schedule the special session until we have more information about the delivery of that data. So we are collecting public commentary right now. We're traveling around the state to hear from as many Georgians as possible. And we will likely hear from more people once we do have some more certainty about the timing of the special session. At some point after these public hearings, we will each have our committee meetings at the House and will adopt the rules and guidelines and principles for redistricting. That's the schedule and the timeline of events. So for this public hearing here, which is in person, as you see, and also being live streamed, we are going to first watch a short video that our Media Services Department has put together to educate and inform people about the redistricting process. Then we will open up the floor to those individuals who have signed up to speak. Often when politicians have hearings and meetings like this, they like to talk a lot, but that is not why we're here today. We are here to hear from you, not to answer questions or ask questions. We want to hear what you have to say about your community because you live here and you know it best. You have information that will be important to share with us about the process, and we want to hear from that. So if you find that the 4 minutes is not enough to submit what you want, please do submit your longer written comments on the portal that's on the House website. And also feel free to go back and watch the recordings, which will also be there. It should be up tomorrow. With that, we will turn it over to the video, and then we'll go to the first person who signed up.
Every 10 years following the decennial census, the process of redistricting begins all over our country. Let's take a look at what that redistricting is and what else we need to know before we begin this process in the state of Georgia.
My name is Gina Wright, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment. We are a nonpartisan joint office of the Georgia General Assembly, and we serve both the House and the Senate.
What is redistricting?
As the population in our state grows, the number of people in each district must be adjusted so that the population in each district is as close to equal as practicable. This is done by redistricting, or modifying the boundary lines of the districts. In Georgia, our new 2020 census resident population total is 10,711,908 people. Because of this population increase, each of our 14 congressional districts will need to adjust to have 765,136 people in them. At the state level, our legislative branch of government has 56 state senators and 180 representatives in the state house, elected by districts. State Senate districts will be redrawn to now include around 191,284 people. State House districts will also need to increase in population size to around 59,511 people. In the Georgia General Assembly, there is a standing committee on redistricting in both the House and the Senate. Each committee has a chairman.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Rich. I'm chairman of the Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment Committee in the State House. I've served in that capacity since 2019. Since 2018, I have represented District 97, which includes parts of Duluth, Suwannee, and Sugar Hill in Gwinnett County.
Hello, I'm State Senator John F. Kennedy, and I represent the 18th District in the State Senate, which includes all of Monroe, Peach, Crawford, and Upson counties, and part of Bibb County and Houston County. I also am chairman of the Senate Redistricting and Reapportionment Committee.
What is reapportionment, and how is it different from redistricting?
The term apportionment is the act of dividing and allocating representation proportionally. The United States Constitution requires that all 435 House districts shall be apportioned among the 50 states based on population from each decennial census. There is a guarantee of at least one seat per state in the United States House, and a method of equal proportions determines how the other 385 are distributed. Every 10 years, states may gain or lose congressional districts based on how they gained or lost population in comparison to other states based on data from the decennial census.
The state of Georgia presently has 14 seats in the U.S. House, and the 2010 census resulted in a gain of 1 new seat for the state following an increase of 2 new districts in 2000. It's common to interchange the term reapportionment with the term redistricting, but the two terms really don't mean the same thing. Reapportionment only occurs at the federal level when U.S. House districts are distributed amongst the states. Even with a gain of over 1 million people in Georgia over the past decade, Georgia will continue to have 14 congressional districts.
When does redistricting take place?
Traditionally, the governor of Georgia issues a call for a special legislative session in late summer or early fall following the arrival of the new census data. The sole purpose of this session is to adopt newly redrawn maps for all statewide district plans and may also include new maps for local county commission or school board districts. The session occurs so that all county election officials have sufficient time to update voter district assignments once the process is complete prior to elections the next year. After the Georgia General Assembly adopts new maps and the governor signs the bills into law, they become the new election districts for use in the next election cycle or on the date specified in the legislation. This year, with COVID-related delays in the census, the special session will likely take place later in the year because we will not receive full census data until late August or September.
What other factors do we have to consider besides equal population?
The first mission of redistricting is to ensure that districts are roughly equal to each other. Equalizing population ensures that each individual's vote counts the same toward their representatives. But equal population is only one part of the puzzle.
Maps must also comply with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and traditional principles of redistricting, like ensuring communities of interest are represented, avoiding major changes to existing representation in the legislature, and keeping local government jurisdictions whole. Those legal criteria are what often keeps maps from being drawn as perfect squares across our state.
Why do we have public hearings?
The redistricting process begins with hearing from the public. The General Assembly is ready to hear from you about the uniqueness of your part of the state, what communities of interest are here, and what important factors it should consider as we all prepare to redraw the districts later this year.
All right. With that, we will begin hearing from the individuals who have signed up. I'm going to call the first 3 names so that the people who are on deck will be able to prepare and to begin making your way down front once it's your turn. First, we have America Gruner, Thank you. And then after Ms. Gruner, we will have Jose Morales and then Mary Thelma Norris. Yes, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. My name is America Gruner. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I have lived in Dalton for more than 19 years. I'm the founder and president of the Coalition of Latino Leaders, or CLILA, a Latino nonprofit organization here in Dalton. For more than 15 years, we have worked diligently in Northwest Georgia on promoting civic engagement, non-partisan voter registration, education, and mobilization. Locally, we have seen a significant growth of the Latino population for the last 2 decades. We are now about 50% of the population in Dalton and about 33% in Whitfield County. We are not a burden. We are an essential part of the floor industry and the local economy. We make up about 18% of the voters in Whitfield County, and we rank number 8 on Latino voters in the state. Dalton has doubled its Latino voters in the past decade. After the census data for 2010, the state of Georgia gained a congressional seat, in part because of the rapid Latino population growth in our area. That's why the new district is here. We are here. And the maps need to reflect that. We deserve to have our voices heard fairly and make sure the Latino vote is not diluted. For now, the 14th district goes from Dade, almost border with Tennessee, to Haralson County, in a suburb of Atlanta. So there is not much in common. Here in Whitfield County, 2 of the districts look like long jalapenos, and the city has a district that looks like an alligator. There must be reasons for all that, but please let's make sure the new maps follow the criteria of fairness and that cracking or fragmenting our community is not happening. Furthermore, we ask you to please consider Latinos in the area as a community of interest in order for us to have proportional fair representation, since we share common concerns, demography, ethnicity, culture, and socioeconomic status. We know that you are not required anymore to follow the Department of Justice Section 2 of the voting rights, but we have now the opportunity to follow those principles and the privilege to have fair representation. We want to be active participants of this process. We think hearings are not enough. We need you to provide us with the information and access to data, as well as the drafts of maps. Also to offer resources for language access, so for us to participate in evaluating the districting proposals, more widely disseminated town halls that provide opportunities for our meaningful participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gruner. Next, we have Jose Morales, then Mary Thelma Norris, and after her, Austin Wang.
Okay. So, good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank the committee for holding this hearing today here in Dalton, Georgia. My name is Jose Morales. I am a volunteer with CLILA, Coalition of Latino Leaders here in Dalton, which is a nonprofit organization that has been serving the community for over 15 years. I personally have lived in Dalton for over 35 years, and in that time period, I have seen our community go through a lot of changes. One of the more notable changes has been the increase of the Latino community in this area. Dalton is known and has been known for a while as the carpet capital of the world, because over 90% of the functional carpet is produced in the area. The carpet industry alone employs over 30,000 people in Whitfield County. In the majority of those are migrant workers, specifically Latino workers. I ask that the committee take that into consideration, the diversity, the uniqueness of our area when redrawing the district lines. We're a close-knit community, and we ask that the committee keep our community together. We ask that the committee do their part to ensure that the process of redistricting is fair, transparent, nonpartisan, and that it allows for fair and equal representation for all of its residents. We also ask that this committee do everything possible to keep the public informed of these types of hearings, so that all residents have access to be part of the process. Okay? Again, so thank you for allowing us to speak today and for you guys holding this hearing here.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Ms. Mary Thelma Norris, then after her will be Austin Wang, and
Hello.
then Julie Clusty. Okay, you may proceed.
My name is Mary Thelma Norris. I'm a lifelong resident of Dalton and the director of a local child care program, and I'm here to ask that we let common sense and fairness guide redistricting, not politics. I have with me the map from the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning that has Dalton in the northeast region. The office for that is in Athens, and that makes no sense. The Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning supports the work of child care resource and referral agencies in Georgia. These agencies provide an invaluable network of support for partners and child care professionals at the local level. Such support includes targeted coaching, training, and technical assistance for work programs working through the Quality Rated program. Before this last map was drawn, we were included in Region 1 with an office in Cartersville, which was convenient and suitable. This decal map causes me concern that current redistricting process could create a similar congressional district that too doesn't best represent my community. I believe a good redistricting process should help a community secure meaningful representation, cohesion rather than division. Redistricting should provide representation for our community. We share common social, cultural, racial, economic, geographic, and other concerns. The redistricting process should help make sure that the people who live and work near each other and who are likely to have similar interests are represented by the same person. We are a manufacturing community, and while we share some common issues with other parts of the state, we have unique issues and we deserve representation. I request that our redistricting process be open and transparent, allowing communities to ask questions and to give input. I request an independent commission with members that reflect our diverse community, including citizens at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norris. Mr. Austin Wang, and then Julie Clusty, and after her will be Jackie Killings. Okay, you may go ahead.
Good evening. I'm currently a resident of Bartow County. I'm actually quite satisfied with the boundaries of my state Senate and state House district. However, when it comes to my congressional district, I find it kind of odd that I'm in the same district as someone from Buckhead because, well, Buckhead and Bartow County, I think, are just two very different places. So I ask of you, when you redraw the boundaries of Congressional District 11, perhaps consider grouping Bartow County alongside more similar communities, such as maybe Pickens County or Gordon County, or maybe incorporate more territory from North Cobb, maybe add Noonday or Sandy Plains. Secondly, I want to address something I've heard from previous speakers, and what some previous speakers have talked about was using an independent redistricting committee to draw our districts, which is something that will probably require a constitutional amendment to our state constitution. I say, if we're talking about amending the Constitution, we might as well talk about something that will be far more effective at dealing with all of these redistricting issues, all these controversies, all this drama regarding this process. This something is called proportional representation. So what is proportional representation? So remember at the video we saw earlier, talked about reapportionment and reapportionment among the states? Well, under proportional representation, we apply that reapportionment process to the actual parties. Parties. So under proportional representation, if a party receives X% of the vote, they will be legally entitled to receive X% of the seats in the legislature. For example, if Party A receives 25% of the vote for the Georgia State Senate, Party A will be legally entitled to receive 14 seats. So in addition to solving a lot of those redistricting controversies that we are currently going through, I think proportional representation can give us a far more nuanced legislature. I mean, under proportional representation, I think it'll be much easier for, like, say, conservatives and cities to elect their representatives compared to our current single-member district system. So there are a lot of ways to implement proportional representation. It's used in a lot of places around the world. I think some good places we can look at for, as like examples, would be take a look at what they're doing in Ireland, Germany, Denmark, or maybe Cambridge, Massachusetts. That all those places use proportional representation for their legislature. Anyway, so you guys probably don't have time to implement this concept in the current redistricting process, but over the next decade, I hope everyone here get a bit more familiar with this concept of proportional representation. I think it's a good thing that we should just take a look at that and see. Maybe that'll be something good for our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Julie Clusty, and then Jackie Killings and Eddie Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. I prepared a 2-minute speech, so I'll try to pad it to get 4 minutes out of it. First of all, I want to thank you guys for arranging this town hall meeting. Gathering stakeholders is a great way to gain public consensus on this. And to you, Mr. Wong, as soon as we get the voting issues ironed out, maybe that might be something to look at, but at this point, I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm here to represent the will of we the people of Pickens County. As demographics will attest, this is a rural community filled with assets best utilized by maintaining natural resources. Future development is slated to be concentrated along 515, that 515 corridor, as shown in the county comprehensive plan. Residents faithfully maintain their community, providing visitors with interesting gems of historical and bucolic significance. Citizens in Pickens County closely identify with the contiguous counties to the north and the west of Pickens County that hold similar values and principles. This northwest region deserves a unified voice of representation. The 14th district offers that opportunity. Pickens County citizenry that I and many of my friends and neighbors speak to request that the whole of the county be included in the 14th district. Splitting this small rural county in half, as it is now, half in the 14th, half in the 9th, has not served the best concerns of the people, the assets, or the community of interest as a whole. The creeping development south of the county boundaries threatens the sustainability of the community. Representation of residents would be silenced by any other redistricting than inclusion of the whole county into the Northwest Georgia region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Clusty. Next, we have Jackie Killings, and then Eddie Hall, and after that will be Nicole Robinson. Thank you, Ms. Killings.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jackie Killings, and I have lived and worked in Whitfield County nearly 13 years. I'm also president of the Dalton Area League of Women Voters, and we would like the Senate Committee on Reapportionment and Redistricting and the House Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment Committee to keep our community together and keep us in the 14th District. Under the guidelines that the districts share a community of interest, there are stark economic differences between areas east of our neighboring Murray County and those west of that county. According to Georgia Trend magazine, 80% of the carpet and flooring industry is located within a 65-mile radius of Whitfield County. The economic interests of a community are essential to the viability and growth of that area. If you group a manufacturing community like Whitfield County, which has total annual manufacturing shipments of $5.8 million, with Gilmer County, which has shipments of $369,400, according to Census 2019 report, it is apparent that the economic focus of those two areas is vastly different. A quick Google search of flooring manufacturers in Gilmer County produced no results. It's difficult to speak to specifics when we do not know what changes are being considered, but I would note that back in the 90s, Whitfield County was part of the 9th Congressional District, and the congressman was Nathan Deal from Gainesville. According to Google Maps, the quickest route to Gainesville from Dalton is south on I-75, then north on I-85. This 130-mile route takes a little over 2 hours. Comparatively, driving the 90 miles over the mountains also takes a little over 2 hours. So as you can see, while Whitfield County and Gainesville seem close on a map, the natural boundary created by the mountain makes travel between these two areas difficult. Under the compact and contiguity criteria, we are not easily connected to Hall County. We have geological barriers that make travel east and west difficult in the north end of the state. And lastly, according to Data USA, in 2018, the median income in Whitfield County was $46,970 compared to $59,898 in Hall County. This 27.5% disparity is significant, and it is reasonable to expect that citizens in these two areas have different challenges and priorities. Also of note is the difference in property values. According to the same data source, median property value in 2018 was $126,900 in Whitfield County and $183,200 in Hall County. Again, this 44.3% difference suggests that residents in these two counties have different concerns and different interests. I urge you to keep our area in the 14th district for the reasons I have just outlined. Thank you for your time this evening and for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Dalton Area League of Women Voters.
Thank you, Ms. Killings. We have Eddie Hall next, and then Nicole Robinson, and then Jack Genberg.
Thank you. My name's Eddie Hall. I live in Calhoun, which is in Gordon County. I at one point in time lived in Whitfield County. I've had businesses in both. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming here to hear us and say what a fortunate thing it is to live in a country that we can come before elected officials, express our opinions, and you take them into account and not have fear of retribution when we leave the building. So thank you very much. The main thing I wanted to say is, like some of the people who spoke before me, we love our district, our congressional district. And I realize you may have to do some changing, but please try to keep us intact as much as possible. And certainly, we don't want to go back to the days when our district stretched from one border of Georgia to the border of Alabama. That I don't feel like we had really any voice at that point in time. It was too broken up. But we've got a good, strong district. We've got good, active people in this district, and I'd love to see it held together as much as possible. And the only other thing I'd like to address, our Senate district splits Gordon County. I feel like this diminishes our role. We have not love our neighbors in Floyd County, but we have a lot more in common with our Whitfield County neighbors, the flooring industry, agricultural developments, things of that nature, would make us pair better with them as a whole county and give our whole county more representation if we were partnered with them as a whole other than split in half. That's all I got. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Nicole Robinson, and then Jack Genberg, and then Eltoa Garcia.
Good evening, Chairman Kennedy and Chairman Rich, and to the members of the House and Senate Redistricting Committees. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Nicole Robinson. I'm a policy analyst at the ACLU of Georgia, and I'm fortunate enough to have grown up in Georgia. My parents moved our family here when I was 2 years old, and eventually settled in Fulton, North Fulton County, and where I still live. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the ACLU of Georgia and our members who are represented in all 159 counties in the state. So the ACLU of Georgia firmly believes that the right to vote is one of the most sacred civil liberties we have as Americans, and that fair maps are crucial to ensuring that every vote counts equally. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the population changes that have occurred in the greater Dalton area over the last 10 years, and about the importance of fairness in the redistricting process. The greater Dalton area, which includes Whitfield and Murray County, has grown more diverse in the last 10 years. The voting age population has increased by about 4%, and on top of that, the Black voting age population has grown by about 15%, the Asian voting age population has grown by about 25%, the Hispanic voting age population has grown by about 23%, and the white voting age population has decreased by about 2%. So overall, the people of color voting age population in the greater Dalton area has grown by nearly 22%. And we believe these demographic changes must result in maps that adequately reflect the diversity of the greater Dalton area. The maps that are drawn this year need to take that diversity into account and ensure that voters of color have the same opportunity to elect candidates of their choice as white voters do. To ensure that the right to vote is protected and that we have fair maps, we also must have a fair process. This means providing more opportunities for public hearings across the state after the full census data has been released in the fall, and having a robust and accessible mechanism for citizens to provide feedback on proposed maps and for their feedback to be meaningfully considered. The decisions made during this redistricting process will impact the lives of countless Georgians for the next 10 years or more. This is a tremendous responsibility before the legislature, and we urge this body to ensure that the voices of all Georgians are heard and meaningfully considered, because our democracy depends on it. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Jack Genberg. Then on deck will be Altoa Garcia, and then Roy Blankenship.
Hello, my name is Jack Genberg. I'm a senior staff attorney with SPLC Action Fund, a 501c4 affiliate of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is dedicated to upholding the fundamental right of all citizens to vote. Chairman Kennedy, I saw you smile. I've testified the last couple town halls, and I previously spoke about how the Redistricting Committee's town hall procedure does not allow the public to provide meaningful input, and how that is especially true for the over 100,000 Georgians with limited English proficiency. Meaningful input begins but does not end with a forum to provide input after the 2020 census data is released. On June 15th, we testified that a fair process would include information being provided in Spanish, Korean, Vietnamese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Hindi, and Arabic. We continue to be disappointed that Georgians with limited English proficiency have not been included in the town hall process. These Georgians did not receive any notice of today's town hall, which was only provided in English. As prior speakers noted, Whitfield County has a growing Latinx population. The 2010 census reported that people of color represented over 37% of Whitfield County's population. Estimates of the 2020 census predict that that number will grow to over 40%. It is critical that all residents of Whitfield County and the state of Georgia are included in the redistricting process. That includes residents with limited English proficiency who are still not receiving notice of these town halls, and people of color who have historically had their voting strength diluted by Georgia's legislature. As the redistricting committees are well aware, the district maps enacted at the end of this process will significantly affect all Georgians' political representation, and therefore the policies which govern their lives. Given the stakes, it is fair and appropriate to allow all Georgians to have meaningful input. We hope that the committees agree and adjust the redistricting process to reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Genberg. Altoa Garcia. After that will be Roy Blankenship, and then Terry Lister.
Hello, my name is Elton Garcia, like Elton John, but without the John.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm a University of Georgia graduate, born and raised in Gainesville, Georgia, that is a part of the 9th Congressional District. I am a community organizer at the Georgia Association of Latino Elected Officials, co-chair of the Georgia Latino Redistricting Caucus, and a member of the Georgia Redistricting Alliance. The Georgia Redistricting Alliance is a group of organizations advocating for immigrant, BIPOC, and LGBT communities to advocate for fair, transparent, and inclusive maps for the 2021 redistricting process. As a resident of Gainesville, 1/3 of the population in Hall County is Spanish-speaking, and they're also part of the immigrant workforce that drives the poultry industry within that county. I'm here today, 2 hours away from my hometown, because the city of Dalton mirrors my community of Gainesville, where the immigrant workforce here is what drives the carpet industry. I realize that both Dalton and Gainesville share in the same struggle of language access in the redistricting process, thereby denying meaningful opportunities for participation for these hardworking communities. These language groups are a vital component of the redistricting process because of the Voting Rights Act, and they are a specific community of interest since they run the poultry and carpet capitals of the world. These communities deserve to play a role in what districts they are being drawn into and advocate for districts demonstrating their collective shared interest, and not be marginalized nor packed into as few districts as possible just to preserve partisan influence in these districts. They deserve transparency of the entire process in their own language, with all Georgia residents viewing and commenting on the final maps before they go to a vote. How is this committee going to have a hearing in Dalton and not have a translator on site, nor provide information in languages other than English? Nosotros merecemos ser parte del proceso. Sean justos y no dibujen sus mapas para dibujar sus votos. Enséñanos que nosotros podremos confiar en ustedes. If you were not able to understand what I just said, this is the reason why we need language access, because my community heard me, and now you know how excluded they feel. We deserve to be part of the process, be just, be transparent, be fair, and show us that we can confide in you. Thank you.
My name is Ray Blankenship. I am the administrator of the Catoosa County Second Amendment Sanctuary Group, and I'm here to request that Catoosa County stay in the 14th District. On the count of gun owners, we have had a very hard fight, especially with all the legislation that has been, presented in the past, and that's still going on today. There are a lot of the Democratic lawmakers. I hate to point anybody out, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that. But also, we have been fighting very, very hard to keep Democrats and Republicans with their Second Amendment rights. And in order to do that, Catoosa County has been on the forefront, along with Walker and Chattooga and Gordon County and Whitfield County as well, about getting Second Amendment sanctuary groups established here. And we have a fighter in our congressional district that is willing to stand up for us. And we definitely want to be with her and in her fight to help us. So I'm speaking for around 3,000 people right now in Catoosa County. So we really request that you keep Catoosa County in the 14th District. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next, we have Terry Lister. After that will be Jan. I'm going to have to start asking people to print. I can't read the handwriting. It looks like a signature, so if you know who you are, Jan. And then it will be Nancy Burton.
Okay, I'm nervous because I did not know we could talk today. I would have had something prepared, but this is my first time doing something like this. But anyway, I've been a Georgia resident for 59 years, and I found myself a single mother, being married after 28 years. And I have very strong moral values and principles that I raised my children with. And I voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene because she fights for those same moral principles. She has the same integrity that I raised my children with, and I would like to see her stay as my representative. And as I look around, they talk about suppression, but I see a lot of people with color that are doing probably 10 times better than I am. I live in poverty, basically, and I hear a lot about white supremacy, and I love people of color just like I love my own color. I don't see that as a problem. I see it being stirred up in politics for some kind of political reasons, but the majority of white people love people of color, and we don't suppress them. I treat all of my neighbors the way I would want to treat myself. So, but the main thing I want to say is that I would like to keep my Marjorie Taylor Greene as my representative and keep our district the way it is, because that's how we voted for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lister. Jan, is there someone here who would, oh, okay. And then after that will be Nancy Burton.
As you surely have noticed, a lot of people who come stand here talk with an accent like me. We kind of like the funny talkers. That is important because indeed this area has become extremely diverse. Now, that does not express itself yet in politics, but I'm sure that's just around the corner. Now, a remark, not all of us are what some may want to believe are immigrants. Many of people, Latinos, myself, not all immigrants around here are Latino. That impression is sometimes created. They come from Europe, they come from Asia, they come from the Middle East. They're diverse in origin and religion. So not all of them are Latinos. I say that with respect, of course. And not all of them, of course, are first generation already. Many of them are second generation and are now assimilated, to use the word, and do speak English. My child speaks English. He doesn't even know the language I grew up in. So I think it's a good thing, of course, for immigrants to learn the language and assimilate without forgetting their heritage. I would like for you to take notice of that, because not too long ago this was an all-white, basically 5% black people, or something like that, all-white rural area that became industrialized, saw its own industrial revolution. Those days are gone. So please take note of that. Number two, I would like to support another man who talked with a funny accent, who came out for a proportional system. You may want to consider that in your conversations. A winner-take-all system is basically discouraging for the democratic competition. Conservatives in Atlanta have no reason to go vote, nor do liberals in Dalton, Georgia. If it's a proportional system, everybody will have a reason to go and vote, and there will be competition among the parties. But both parties, I have to assume, like the winner-takes-all system, because they can draw safe districts. With a proportional system, safe districts no longer exist. That's number two. And my 4 minutes are almost over. Just one more thing. A lady mentioned here about rural areas. Let's be honest. Both parties have been neglecting poor rural areas for decades. They just ignore these poor people. Okay? I don't want to get controversial, but at many times it looked like only the poor from the cities got the attention of the politicians, not the poor who live in the mountains here in a trailer park. They had nobody to represent them, nor anybody that paid attention to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Burton. Nancy Burton.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. I want you to know that many of the people have given you the statistics that will make sense in making your decision. As an educator of 37 years of young children, I want to give you the warm, fuzzy side of things, which is a different look. I've been in this area for 19 years. And so I've been in the 14th District, and I speak highly of the 14th District. We've had great leadership here. But the thing that makes a difference to me is that we are contiguous, except for Pickens County, and we only have half of Pickens County. We want them all, or we want them to be in a better place. We like being side by side with the other counties in our district because we form friendships in working for the communities that are vital to the working of our economics and of our education and of all the other aspects of life in the United States in Northwest Georgia. So I want to recommend to you that we keep the 14th District as much as possible as it is. I understand there's a program, is it called CAD, or something that distributes the numbers of people in places. We used that when we were getting 5-member committees together through Jeff Mullis, our senator. And in using a program, a mechanical program, it doesn't really discern what the people are like. And so I want you to consider that we want to be with people who are in similar numbers in the counties and who have similar values and who have similar cares. We want to be able to work together to make our community great. And when you consider those warm, fuzzy aspects, that would be included. Let's see, I've forgotten one thing. I think this happened to me once before. Oh, the most important thing of all is that we have a U.S. Congresswoman, and we want her to stay in our 14th District. We want to continue to work with her and all the good things that she is accomplishing. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Naomi Swanson, to be followed by Nicholas Lama, please. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Swanson, you have the floor. Welcome.
I'm going to need to move this way up.
All right.
Hello, and thank you for being here. I am after the bonus points. So mine's going to be very short and hopefully a little bit sweet. Thank you for being in Dalton. I and several others here were part of this 10 years ago. I'll go ahead and say we're very happy the way it worked out for the 14th District. That meeting 10 years ago was just a handful of people. And that tells me that in this 10 years of working in the communities and with the legislature, we have learned what it means for reapportionment and redistricting and how important it is for an individual voter, not just a community, but it really makes the difference in everything. So thank you for serving, and this is very, very important. My quick discussion is going to be about highways. Okay, from west to east, we have Highway 27, I-75, 41, 225, 411, and then 515. That gives us access that we really didn't have before in the 9th. The strange thing about North Georgia, there are no main highways running east and west. None. I think that changes down in the state. For here we have no easy access main highways. So you can see how much better and easier it is to work and communicate, and we do a lot of that along this corridor where we are. The 14th District has served us well as it is, and I hope that you will consider keeping it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Nicholas Lama.
I would like to start off by thanking the committee to allow the citizens time to speak on behalf of their thoughts. My name is Nicholas Lama. I live in Dalton, Georgia, and I'm currently attending Georgia Northwestern, and I'm majoring in construction management and working full-time. I watched the previous committee hearing and heard nothing but transparency, adhere to common, redistricting practices, fair map, diversity, and community of interest. While all of those are great phrases, they are vague as they can mean different definitions to different people. I recommend the committee sponsor a map day during the special session to allow all guests and all groups to show what they define as a fair map for the public to view, and let the public decide which maps will reflect common sense redistricting. I will submit our map, and I look forward to seeing other maps be submitted as well. Let's hear the input from the citizens to create a positive recommendation to the committee. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lama. Abel Albor, followed by Jesse Vaughn.
I'd like to begin by thanking the committee for allowing me time to speak. My name is Abel Albor. I am a citizen of Dalton, Georgia. Recently gained my full citizenship here in this country. I'm 20 years of age. I'm 20 years of age. I attend college here at Dalton State. I'm a very active member in my community and also work a full-time job. I watched the previous committee hearing, and a lot of the phrases that I heard were being thrown around, such as community mapping or storytelling and fair redistricting. The problem with these terms are they are so vague that they are open to different interpretations. I believe that it is only fair that the committee sponsor a map day in order so that all citizens' voices can be heard during the process of redistricting to better fit the needs of our communities. During last week's committee hearing, there was a lot of concern for not including minority groups in the redistricting process. Well, what better way to include them by allowing them to submit their own maps? A map day will also allow members of the community to voice their opinions on what they think is a fair map, and so that it can be agreed upon. I look forward to working with members of my community to submit my map before you all. Once again, I'd like to thank the committee for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Albor. Jesse, good to see you. Followed by Raleigh Hussman after Jesse, please. Mr. Vaughn.
Madam Chairwoman, you have my condolences for having to work with Chairman Kennedy.
Your time is up,
my
sir.
time is
It's
up.
expired.
That's right. Well, you can't expect a lawyer to go under 4 minutes anyway. So.
That's right.
But my name is Jesse Vaughn, and I'm from Gordon County, and my family moved to Gordon County in August of 1979, just before I started the first grade. And I currently serve on the Gordon County Development Authority Board and the joint Floyd-Gordon County Development Authority Board. And it's because of those positions I come to you today to ask you to first preserve as much as possible our Northwest Georgia Congressional District, and then to be aware in your other redistricting efforts of sort of the rule of unforeseen consequences. First, to the staffers who are with you, you have my deepest respect. I worked as an aide in the House 30 years ago when we went through this process, and we didn't have near the technology that you all have. And I can remember very late at night watching really big printers print out maps and trying to double check and make sure they worked. But this part of the state, I would say, is the manufacturing heart of the state. We are driven by our manufacturing communities, and it's not just carpet. You know, we are constantly seeking to diversify. Here in Whitfield County, for example, they are making a large portion of the country's solar panels these days, as well as lots of carpet. But the key to understanding this part of the state is understanding transportation. This part of the state first grew because of transportation. When they cut the tunnel through at Tunnel Hill and had the first railroad line that connected Atlanta to Chattanooga. That's how we began. And from there, we have continued to grow because of transportation. But as one of the previous speakers said, well, you can go north and south in this part of the state easy peasy, but you can't go east and west for nothing. And if somebody is representing us on the other side of the mountain, they're just not going to come see us very often. So we fought for a long time to have a Northwest-only congressional district, and it makes sense for the communities here in this part of the state because we have so much in common. As Miss Nancy, my good friend, said, we work together as communities because these companies that are here, Shaw, Mohawk in particular, Engineered Floors coming up fast, those companies, while Mohawk may be headquartered in Calhoun and Shaw may be headquartered in Dalton and Engineered Floors in Dalton, they have plants all over this Northwest area. And so all of these communities are invested in these companies and these employers. Then, as it relates to, the last thing I would say is please be aware of the potential unintended consequences of your work. The lady from Pickens County that spoke pointed this out wonderfully. They are in a terrible position right now because they're split into two different congressional districts. And what a lot of people don't consider about that is what that means is when their county commission or city council people have to do work with the Georgia Department of Transportation, they don't have one, they have two different DOT board members they've got to work with and deal with and satisfy and make understand their request. So please, as best you can, keep counties intact to help your local government officials. We met not long ago with people from the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission for the Development Authority, and there's lots of money out there that is available, but we're going to have to do it as communities and use our leaders as conduits to that. And if we're divided into a million pieces, it's just going to make it that much more difficult.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Raleigh Hussman, please.
I want to thank all of you for this opportunity, and I also want to commend you and challenge you for the work you're doing. I know you know how important it is and how we must trust your integrity and know that your hard work will pay off in representing all of us in this state and in this district. I am from Rahman Floyd County, and as you know, that is in now the infamous 14th district. So I am a vice president for the League of Women Voters and come to you today to represent them as well as our community. You know that the maps that you all decide on that come as a result of all this work will be with us for 10 years. And we're now living with 10 years ago. And so we know that we would like to have you present your work before it's considered final so that we all can view it and you can get input from people, all of us for whom it will affect. And then perhaps some changes can be made based on the kind of information you get from us who live here and who deal with it every day. We do also know that several states, maybe 17 to 20 states, have independent commissions, and they are nonpartisan, and that they represent their constituents like you all represent us. And that's something we would really like to see our state go toward. But thank you so much for letting me speak today, and thank you for all the hard work I know you've done and you will continue to do.
Thank you, ma'am. Forgive me, I'm not going to get this right, but I think the first name is Dimanesh, signed up as number 20. Okay, thank you. And then followed by Marajek Klestra.
Oh.
Thank you.
Good evening, chairs, members of the committee. I'm Jamana Shantena, a redistricting coordinator of Fair Count, and I've lived and worked in Georgia for 2 years. Fair Count is a nonpartisan nonprofit focused on equity, access, and participation in our democracy. I am here in support of fair and equitable redistricting, specifically through language accessibility. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's 5-year American Community Survey estimates, 10.1% of people in Georgia are foreign-born, as they word it, and 9.9% Latinx or Hispanic. Georgia's 14th congressional district, the district in which this hearing is taking place, is 12.9% Latinx or Hispanic, according to the 2019 American Community Survey. And yet we've seen no effort made by the committee to provide language accessibility at this or any other hearing so far. Failing to ensure language access denies many Georgians the opportunity to have their voices heard and to participate fully in the systems that govern us. Additionally, while we wait on the Census Bureau's redistricting data, there continues to be a push to redistrict using alternative data sets, including unreliable CVAP or citizen voting age population data. Doing so would further exclude many immigrants who contribute to our communities and our economy, as well as children from resources, representation, and our democracy. Hopefully we will see intentional inclusivity in this process as it continues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Marika Kilstra. Hola a todos, me llamo Marika Kilstra, trabajo para Fair Count. Thank you all so much for having us today and thank you for letting me speak. Gracias a todos por estar aquí hoy. I'll be repeating Fair Count's comments in Spanish because we believe that everyone should be able to be a part of this process. Voy a repetir los comentarios de Fair Count en español porque creemos que todos debemos de tener acceso a este proceso. Entonces, Fair Count es una organización imparcial sin fines de lucro enfocada en la justicia, la accesibilidad y la participación en nuestra democracia. Estoy aquí para apoyar a la redistribución justa de distritos, especialmente a través de la accesibilidad del lenguaje. Según estimados del Buró del Censo, 10.1% de la población de Georgia son inmigrantes y 9.9% de la población de Georgia es latino. El Distrito Congresional 14 de Georgia, este distrito en lo que estamos ahora, tiene 12.89% de la población que es latino, según los datos de 2019. Pero no hemos visto nada de parte del comité para proveer accesibilidad del lenguaje en esta reunión o cualquier otra reunión que hemos visto hasta ahora. La falta de accesibilidad del lenguaje impide a mucha gente al acceso a mucha gente a estas reuniones y a participar en nuestra democracia. Todos merecemos ser parte y ser escuchados en este proceso, incluyendo comunidades inmigrantes y gente que hablan otros idiomas. También hay gente que quiere utilizar datos de CVAP, población de ciudadanos en edad de votar, para hacer la redistribución de distritos. Hacer eso excluiría a muchos inmigrantes y niños de recibir los recursos y la representación que merecen. Esperamos ver inclusión intencional en este proceso de aquí en adelante y pedimos que el comité lo haga accesible en otros idiomas para que todos puedan participar. Thank you for your time. Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you. Omar Rodriguez, followed by Alex Brady, please.
Hello all, thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Omar Rodriguez. I have been in Dalton, Georgia my entire life. I did attend Dalton State. I obtained an associate's degree, and I now attend Kennesaw State seeking a bachelor's in political science. I'm gonna bring up a topic that has not really been talked about, I guess specifically, but it's important in our redistricting process. It's gerrymandering. Gerrymandering has disproportionately affected, people of color, people of rural communities, and people of, poorer backgrounds for generations. Gerrymandering has affected Georgia since before I can remember. I'm very young. Gerrymandering is something that should not take place in this redistricting cycle. This redistricting cycle should be fair, should be conducted by an independent committee that will address the needs of all Georgians, based, not just those that are part of their political party or part of their ethnic background. Gerrymandering has affected Dalton, Georgia's Black and Latinx communities. We have city council districts, we have county commission districts and state districts who have people in power that do not reflect the needs and the wants of the entire community. We have a congressional congressional district member who is not on any assignments, who has supported sedition, who has betrayed their country, betrayed the flag that we all so love and care for. And I think that whenever we talk about gerrymandering, it's important to think about all of these districts and committees, councils, and seek a fair and independent commission to conduct this redistricting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alex Brady.
Good evening. My name is Alex Brady. I live in Catoosa County near Ringgold. And I've been almost a lifelong resident of the great state of Georgia. Before I start my more prepared speech, I want to echo a little bit what's been talked about regarding proportional representation. I know this is probably a new idea for some people in the room here. So just an example, I looked up some numbers. In the 2020 Georgia election, the State House, 51% of the votes for the Republican Party. But the state legislature, there's 57% of the seats were won by the Republican Party. So that's the disconnect there that people are talking about, where we have 51% of the voters support one way, but yet 57% of the representation is that way. So in some states, it's actually much worse than it is in Georgia. So I want to also echo what the previous commentator talked about, which was gerrymandering. I know here in Northwest Georgia, we probably aren't as affected by this, at least as far as a congressional level. And as much as I personally disagree with many of my fellow constituents in the Georgia 14th, I actually feel like our district is pretty well configured to represent the people in the counties with the slight deviations that I think people have already brought up. But to be honest, the real gerrymandering happens in Atlanta Metro, to be honest. I've lived several places in the state, Catoosa County, Gordon County, and right in the heart of Atlanta, just a few miles from the state capitol. So this really is a problem in our state, as much as we probably don't see it as much up in Northwest Georgia. The problem with gerrymandering is when you have places where one neighborhood to the next is just very different political leanings, and that's where these maps can be crafted in a certain way. So I'm here to ask the committee to just do the right thing and end gerrymandering in our state. I'd like to see us make a lot of progress in this redistricting process. I want to bring up the Democracy Act, which was introduced in the legislative session this past year in both the the Senate and the House. And this would form a independent citizen district, nonpartisan, that would help with redrawing these maps. There's several states that have already passed this in recent years. So I ask all of you to support the Democracy Act going forward, but I understand that that's not going to happen, for this cycle. So I just want to echo what other people have said. Let's keep our districts compact. Let's keep them where they represent the counties, the cities, and the other communities of interest, so that we have a representative that represents us and our community. And I just want to ask for more transparency. I want to see these maps released to the public early and often as we go through this process, and I want to see them released in a format that everyone can get to online and paper. And I want us to see more transparency at the Capitol. I know that I read that there was some provisions in the law that protect some of these internal discussions regarding redistricting. And I would like to see some of those waived so that the public can get more insight into what's happening, maybe behind the doors in the Capitol that we wouldn't otherwise see. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for allowing us to speak.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Aisha Yagab, followed by Bill Buono, and then Denise Burns, please.
That's Yakub.
Yagub. Oh, sorry, my apologies.
That's okay. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Aisha Yakub Mahmood. Just recently got married a couple years ago. And I am the executive director of the Asian American Advocacy Fund, a nonprofit organization that advocates for federal, state, and local policies that will improve the lives of Asian Americans and other immigrant communities in Georgia. Thank you for hosting today's town hall here in Dalton. I am a new resident of Northwest Georgia, having moved to Floyd County just a few weeks ago. I currently reside just north of Rome in a community known as Armurchie, and I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. Thank you. It's definitely not spelled that way. My home is in the 14th Congressional District, House District 13, and State Senate District 52. Moving to Northwest Georgia has definitely been an adjustment, but I am definitely in awe of the beauty and the hospitality all of our neighbors have shown to me. I actually grew up in Gwinnett County in Chairwoman Rich's district, to be specific. And over the years, I've seen the change in Gwinnett County. I've seen it grow into the multicultural hub that it is today. And all across Metro Atlanta, we have seen similar shifts in population, which we know will signal the future of our state. And since the 2020 census, the Asian American population in particular has grown nearly 40%, and we will continue to see that number rise when we see the full census numbers. Now, as we think about redistricting and the future of the state of Georgia, I encourage members of this committee to bring more transparency to this process. And now I understand that COVID-19 related delays have made this an incredibly challenging process for all that are involved. However, I urge members of this committee to ensure that we continue these public forums for discussion once the data is released from the Census Bureau. We encourage that maps that are being drafted be shared with the general public as soon as possible, and that there be ample opportunities for concerned residents to share their concerns and alternative maps. In addition, I encourage members of this committee to make this process more accessible for all Georgians. And I so appreciate being able to be here tonight. It wasn't too far for me, but I have so many friends who weren't able to make the last 2 town halls in Atlanta and coming, and probably won't be able to make the remaining locations. So we need hearings in more places, particularly in places where we know district lines will change drastically. And in addition, we need to make sure that notices for these meetings are made available in different languages, as others have mentioned before me, and that we can make sure to bring language equity into this process. And lastly, as we think about the future of our districts, I encourage this committee to keep communities together and not split them up through awkwardly drawn lines. Now, when our communities are kept together through district lines, our votes have more power and our voices are much stronger. We can better advocate for our needs, from increased funding to public schools and public health, to making sure that our communities have the funding for infrastructure that is right for the growth of our own communities. And in particular, in places where we have seen incredible demographic shifts, like Gwinnett County, and hopefully the growing Northwest Georgia area, we need to ensure that our communities are not separated through unfair lines and drawn into districts where our voices are diminished. Thank you once again for being here tonight to hear our concerns. I hope you'll take this all into consideration and hear this call for increased transparency, accessibility, and fair district lines as you move forward with this process. Thank you, and hello to my former representative.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Buoni. I don't have prepared remarks. I actually thought I was signing in, so but I'm going to take this moment to echo the concerns or the concerns that people have mentioned about diversity. I think that's very important, and I want to throw one in. I want to keep in mind my good friend Dustin Baum, who's deaf, and this young man works as hard as he can and does everything he can to try to be involved, and it's extremely difficult because he can't participate if there's not someone to sign for him. So please keep that in mind. I also just want to make a quick statement. I'm fortunate enough to have maybe the best state rep in the state of Georgia with Steve Tarvin, but clearly the best congresswoman in the United States of America with Marjorie Greene. So, right? And she's just getting started. So I want to really encourage you to be thoughtful and mindful in how we go about this process. I think it is important when we have people with shared values to keep those values together. We do have relationships, and we've got some strong bonds that we've built. And that's all. I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Denise Burns, and then followed by Marcia Wilson.
Okay. I was wondering if I was going to be last, and I might go for the bonus points, but since there's somebody else,
You may
I'll
still
stick with
get
me.
them. You
I
can
may
still get
still get them. Good evening. I'm Denise Burns, and I live in Ringgold in the fast-growing Catoosa County area. I also have the privilege of serving as chairman of the 14th District Republican Party. Thank you for taking these important hearings on the road to meet us, to see where we live, to see where we work, and to hear our concerns before you engage in the difficult work of drawing new district lines. I don't think any of us are envious of your responsibility because it is vast. The 14th District has a little bit of all of the diversity that Georgia as a whole is known for. Rural mountain terrain, counties with a world-class manufacturing base, and a history that is legendary. Agricultural bounty that feeds the United States and other countries as well, and citizens who have embraced the changes in culture and technology brought about by the very industries our parents and grandparents started years ago. We've built communities, schools, hospitals, churches, and civic organizations across county lines that look out for each other and that strive for excellence. And because of our shared interests that are largely based on our very unique geography, covered by many speakers ahead of me, the 14th District sees the value in sticking together when it comes to our legislative representative, both state and federal. We ask that you honor our desire to have a congressional district that is compact and convenient to access, with whole entire counties, Pickens, included within its boundaries. Counties and municipalities should not be divided to peel off one demographic or to engineer a desired outcome based on political pressure from groups that are outside this state. We are Georgians. We have great roads. We have great roads and corridors of transportation here, allowing our representatives easy access to meetings and public events north and south. The last 10 years of having really the best district configuration in our history has made us really appreciate our region all the more. Keeping communities of interest intact benefits us all. I respectfully request that you all focus on what is best for us and not cave to the outside voices that are threatening legal action or worse. The world comes here because we all of us, have made this a highly desirable place to live, working together. Let us continue to elect people who will carry that legacy forward. Thank you so very much. There is awesome food in Dalton. Since y'all are going to get out early, we're happy to point you to some good restaurants. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Ms. Burns. And we are going to stay and dine here in Dalton, so yes, yeah.
Thank
you
y'all
for that.
so very much. I came in late.
Are you Ms.
Amen,
Wilson?
sister. Yes,
Great.
I'm Marcia Wilson.
Good, you have the floor.
I'm going to tell y'all my age, if you listen real closely. I moved here in 1971 when I was a senior in high school out of Avondale High School. And my daddy retired from Lockheed. And he used to tell us, if there's nothing wrong with it, why fix it? And I've been here 50 years in Gordon County, beautiful, beautiful Gordon County. And the road I live on has had 5 different addresses since I've lived here. So and now it's Resaca, Lafayette Road, Northwest Sugar Valley, Georgia. So I have 3 cities in my address, so I know about change. Okay, one thing is lately it seems like we're moving backwards. One thing is voting. We have gone backwards. There was nothing wrong with our ballots, but we've gone backwards. So I don't think we need to go backwards anymore. And what I've heard tonight is there's really nothing that needs to be changed except we need Pickens County added to our 14th district. And we are a loving people, and in the world that we're living in, y'all, it is so dysfunctional. There's so much anger out there. There's so much fussing out there. There's so much division out there. We want to stay together. And since we're so peaceful, don't divide us and cause us to fuss because you're in Dalton and I'm in Gordon County, because I work with Dalton a whole lot. Okay, and this is what, I hope it comes back up. Yes, this is my last saying, and it comes from God. Psalm 16, verse 5 and 6. The Lord is the portion of mine inheritance and of my cup. Thou maintainest my lot, the 14th district. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. God says, yea, I have a goodly heritage. So y'all, I pray for God to give you the direction, what you all need to do. I appreciate you, but my address when I lived in Atlanta was 2458 St. Patrick Street, Atlanta, Georgia. So I know that's been a long time ago, but I still remember my address. And I love it, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Is there anyone who signed up or think that they signed up that we've not called on? All right, very good. Well, let me thank you first. Thank you for the hospitality you have shown to us as we have come here. Senator Payne, these folks are just as good as you come to Atlanta and talk about, and we've got to enjoy and experience some of that tonight, so thank you. And I sincerely thank you on behalf of everyone up here for coming and giving us your thoughts and your input. That's why we're here. We told you we were here not to talk. We wanted to listen. We've done that, and thank you for that. I also want to remind you and thank the folks that are on the stage with me, the House members and senators, Republicans and Democrats that have traveled from across the state that love to serve this state, and they've come here tonight to listen to you, and they've done that. So with that, I'm going to pass the microphone to my co-chair and ask her to make any final comments, and then she will adjourn the meeting.
All right. Well, I just echo everything that Chairman Kennedy said to you. Thank you all so much for being here and for giving us so much great information to ponder and to think about. We really appreciate it. And with that, we are adjourned.